comedy news podcast, bringing you the latest and greatest stories, the latest and greatest hit new songs that are played silently. So a couple days ago, Election 2 was announced, which is very exciting. So we had
the release date of Election 2.
Yeah, we had Election 1 a couple of weeks ago here, and it had a pretty sad ending. It was a cliffhanger, if you will.
Well, to be honest, Election 1, it was kind of following up from... they were rebooting a movie that was done a few years ago, like in 2015. And to be honest, it was exactly the same plot.
Yeah, it's
exactly the same characters came up again.
Over and over. I'm kind of hoping that this, in Election 2, I'm pretty hyped about this sequel because I think it might have a different ending from the previous Election movie, which is pretty exciting.
We'll see, but it may not.
It may not. That's true, and it's going to be quite depressing if it doesn't have a different ending. If it has the
same ending again, and we're just kind of like holding on out for another, well, it could be another year, it could be another 2 years, another 3 years. Who knows? How long it will be until the next election sequel?
There's a UK TV show that used to run called Spooks that I really liked, which was a spy show. It's about MI5, and one thing Spooks did that I thought was really cool was every couple of seasons they would, without warning, just kill off the main character. Like, the show was infamous for killing off characters, and I really like the Election series of movies because they very much do just suddenly kill off the main character without a lot of warning, and then just proceed
unless you're
usual.
Deep in Ozpol, unless you're head deep in Ozpol Twitter, you don't
unless
know
you're
that
into the lore and the fanfic surrounding Election.
Yeah, exactly. I'm quite deep into the lore and the fan fiction and all the kind of the meta games happening.
You're on
there.
The forums, about
Yeah,
it.
I'm deep in Ozpol Twitter. Unless you're in that situation, you kind of wake up the next day and realise you've got a new prime minister,
and then you realise
and no one really knows why.
Or what difference it is the other weird part, is it just kind of feels the same, only less charismatic.
A different face.
Exactly. It's like
it
a new
just
Coke,
kind of
but a
feels
human
the same.
being.
Well, the most recent one, it just kind of felt the same, except one goes to Hillsong. And that's...
That's super cool. I do love when they give the election movies a hard Christian reboot.
Yeah, exactly.
To just find a new market.
Yeah, got to appeal to the Christian market. The Hillsong market's growing. It's a pretty big market.
Well, I know a few seasons back, they had the racist reboot. That one I wasn't a fan of that. Then they had the rich boomer reboot, which is look, it was better, but it still wasn't great. Now we've got the religious Hillsong reboot. There was
an all-female reboot a while back, but that didn't go very well and didn't last very long, unfortunately.
There was a concerted trolling campaign against that one. By,
the fandom really didn't like that.
Which, frankly, is not shocking just based on what we know about the fandom.
Well, the sad thing was the all-female reboot probably introduced the most new plot points, but unfortunately, the fandom just didn't buy into it.
They had to retcon a lot of the plot points from Captain Julia, and it was just it was quite frustrating because I liked that movie. I thought it was better.
Yeah, that movie was tolerable. It was decent,
It was better than Kevin, man. I'll say that. It was definitely better than The Incredible John.
The Incredible John was a very long movie, though.
Yeah, it was 10 hours long. It was ridiculous.
And you couldn't go to the toilet in the middle because it just kind of... Otherwise, you'd miss, the GST being introduced, or you'd miss, the best plot point was the, firearms laws, that he dropped...
Oh, yeah, I liked that.
That he dropped, mid-movie, and if you went to the bathroom, you might have missed that one.
Yeah, I kind of liked The Incredible John early on because of that, but then I sort of saw more and more of the underlying personality of John that was different from that one really good scene. And
but
I just couldn't by the end.
Now, all of the current movies are trying to appeal to nostalgia and dragging in The Incredible John just in their previews. They're saying, hey, look, John's here in the trailer. So the fandom can be, nostalgic and be oh, remember John?
I feel like John his heart's not in it anymore. He just looks tired and worn out.
He just wants to go for his morning walks in Wollstonecraft every day.
And he has to wear, like, the CGI suit the whole time now.
Yeah,
and he has to get all of, like,
the
hours and hours of makeup put on. And it's just, he seems burnt out. And I feel like we should just cut John from the whole franchise.
We should just pretend that wasn't canonical. But we should keep firearms laws. That was a good plot point. And just pretend that was introduced.
Let's unretcon that retcon that we did and just keep that one.
Basically. Do we want to make a podcast?
Stuck a podcast?
Instead of talking about films?
I really liked that intro. I thought that was very fun.
That was a good intro. But, we don't often talk about films on this.
No, that's true. We don't reference pop culture much at all, do we?
Yeah, we're not pop culture people. We're not very cool, so...
do you have a story to start us off?
Do you want to start with the worst story?
I feel like now we have to.
You've probably read this story.
I don't know. I haven't been following the news very well for the last month.
This is a big story, and look, I feel like the headline alone is enough to kill a small animal or a large animal. So I'm reading from The Guardian because this has had a lot of coverage in a lot of places, and occasionally I like to support newspapers that I actually really appreciate.
Yeah.
So this is written up by Hannah Ellis Peterson for The Guardian, and the headline goes, "Doctors discover 4 live bees feeding on tears inside woman's eye."
Alison. Alison.
Is that not the worst thing you've ever heard?
How can you subsist on tears alone?
If I could subsist on tears alone, I would be a very healthy gal.
The only being that subsists on tears alone is Rupert Murdoch, and I don't understand how.
He only subsists on the tears of minorities, though.
Minority tears? Oh, God.
Rich people tears, they're not
White
healthy
tears are
enough
of no value to him.
No, exactly.
He can deal with gay tears. Gay tears taste pretty good.
Yeah,
they taste fruity.
Yeah. Minority tears, though, that's his real...
That's the good shit.
That's the good shit for Rupert Murdoch. But these bees, they just love normal human tears.
This is like a fucking David Cronenberg movie. This is the worst thing I've ever heard.
And these bees, they're a particular type of bee known as sweat bees.
No! That can't be a thing that exists.
It's a sweat bee, Chris.
Oh!
It just sounds... And there's a picture that accompanies of a news presenter in Taiwan, which is where this...
Sorry, wait. Can we backtrack? Just, am I going to have explained to me what the core concept of a sweat bee is? Is it a bee that's attracted to sweat? Because if so, I've got a fucking issue.
Yes?
Okay, so... As of 2 months ago? 3 months ago?
Can I read the last paragraph for you, just because it will tell you a bit more about the concept of a sweat bee? And then you can get into what you were saying.
All right.
The small bees, known as Helicitidae, I'm not a scientist, or sweat bees. Let's call them sweat bees. The small bees, known as sweat bees, are attracted to human perspiration and are found all over the world. They are not usually aggressive and sting only if touched. Hong told the press conference that sweat bees commonly nest in the mountains and near graves, which explained how they had come into contact with he.
Okay, so... I'm initially quite worried because as of about 3 months ago, I started taking antidepressants. And one of the cool side effects of these antidepressants is that I'm perpetually experiencing the symptoms of menopause. One of which is that I sweat profusely now.
Well, that's really good because sweat bees exist all over the world, according to this article.
All over the world, which is super cool and exciting for me. So I like this idea of the mountains because I come from Armidale, which is in the mountains.
Okay.
I don't go to graves a lot. So
that's good. As long as you stay away from grave sites, it sounds like you should be safe.
Everyone I know could just try and stay alive for a bit. That would be really helpful.
Until you stop sweating? What?
Yeah, basically.
This is the first time I've ever heard of sweat bees, I will admit. And
how is this not a widely known thing?
It's glad I lived ignorantly until I read this article. And I'm kind of you feel like you've taken the red pill. This is the real red pill stuff, is knowing sweat bees exist and that they are attracted to your human perspiration and that they live everywhere.
Once you get past the underground misogyny, you get into sweat bees, and that's really...
That's what they're really talking about on those forums. It's
what if everything you think is...
5% misogyny, 95% sweat bees?
What if all of the things that the red pill people say that you think are about trying to lure women are actually about luring sweat bees?
They don't... Do they want to lure sweat bees?
Yeah, because they want to exterminate sweat bees.
Okay, sure.
They're
so
like
that's why they all go to the gym
bees.
A lot and get buff. But it's just so they can sweat and attract a lot of sweat bees. And they they take those sweaty photos of themselves, hoping like a sweat bee is like scrolling through Instagram, looking for sweaty people to go.
Also, you do need the muscles to be able to crush the sweat bees. You need to build up the calluses on your hands so that they can't sting your hands, because that's the prime sweat danger zone. You've got to be really strong to fight a sweat bee.
You shouldn't cry, because they seem to be attracted to tears as well.
Well, Alison, everyone knows that big, strong red pill men don't ever cry.
Yeah, well, that's why. Maybe that's why they all say that real men don't cry. It's because they don't want the sweat bees in their eyes. Oh dear. So I'm going to read more about this sweat bees in the eye story, because it's something that's probably the most disturbing thing I've ever read. When a young Taiwanese woman named He took herself to a hospital this week complaining of a swollen eye, she expected to be treated for simple infection. Instead, the 29-year-old and her doctor were horrified to discover 4 bees living under her eyelids, feasting on her tears.
Can you just imagine the doctor looks at the x-ray and he's just like, oh, fuck! What the shit is that?
It's just like the horrified reaction as he like lifts up the eyelid and sees a series of bees there feasting on her eyes.
And she's just like, I'm going to die. It's what's going to happen is I'm about the seconds from death based on this doctor's reaction alone.
So the doctor is here. It says speaking... That's a bad cough, sorry.
It's not great.
Speaking at a press conference, the hospital's head of ophthalmology, Dr. Hung Chi Ting, said, I saw something that looked like insect legs. So I pulled them out under a microscope slowly, and one at a time without damaging their bodies. According to CTS News, He, who was referred by her surname only, had been tending to a family member's grave and was pulling out weeds when she felt something go into her eye. Presuming it was soil, she washed it out with water, but by night it had begun to swell up and she felt a sharp stinging pain under her eyelid.
I hate it.
Now, for the record, these bees are about the size of, like, the pupil in her eye.
Jesus fuck.
And there are 4 of them. And so the picture that's included is...
I didn't know there was that much space in there.
There's a news presenter, a Taiwanese news presenter, standing next to a giant blown-up picture of this woman's eye with 3 sweat bees that are visible.
Oh, can you send me this picture, please? I feel like the audience will want my reaction, my visceral reaction to it.
Hang on. How am I going to get this to you?
Well, I guess you'd have to send me the article, wouldn't you?
Just a second. I'm just going to send you a photo of the thing for now.
Okay.
Because, well, as we are aware, but the audience is not aware, only one of my devices is connected to the internet.
Oh, yeah, crap. Sorry, I forgot about that.
Here we go. That's okay. I just took a photo of the screen.
Jesus fuck.
That's quite hideous.
Horrifying.
It's quite honestly the most disgusting thing I've ever seen.
That's the worst shit in human history, or any history,
for
any species.
But the bees do look like they're enjoying her tears.
I could give a shit what the bees are enjoying. She looks like she wants to die, which is relatable.
Look at the news presenter. She's like...
She just vomited off the side of the screen.
This is actually, the screen is green screened on because the news presenter didn't want to stand near the original.
She was just like, could you just describe to me what's in the image? And the technician was like, you don't want that. Trust me.
You don't want to know. I have students who are from Taiwan and that are currently living in Taiwan. And I do want to know, what their reaction to the sweat bees are, because we know sweat bees are existing in a Taiwanese graveyard in the mountains, feasting on people's tears. Hang on. Is that why the sweat bees are at graveyards? Because a lot of people will be crying for their lost loved ones?
That's fucked up.
That's very morbid.
Do you think when the movie Inside Out was released in Taiwan, the sweat bees just had like a fucking field day at the cinemas?
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
That's all I can think of if I was a sweat bee, would be to go to a sad movie. Or to the gym.
The first sad movie I thought of was a Pixar movie.
Well, it is a very sad movie.
I tried several times.
It is like a... I feel like whoever was making that movie just really wanted to make everyone cry a lot.
Yeah.
They just put in a lot of moments to make anyone cry.
And me specifically. Can I give you a story?
Does it have sweat bees in it?
No.
Okay, that's good, because I'd rather not have another sweat bee story.
So this is from the Canberra Times.
Okay.
A Canberra woman is no longer on Tinder after a man she met over the hookup app stole her car and ATM card from under her nose the morning after they spent the night together. This is a Tinder date disaster, Prosecutor McLaren Wall told the ACT Magistrates Court on Friday.
Oh, no. I mean, it's not the worst thing that could happen on a Tinder date, but also it's not the best.
It's middling. This is a middling quality Tinder date.
It's solidly like, you know, if you had to like give a thumbs up rating to your date, it would kind of be like towards the bottom, but like slowly kind of down, but not the most down.
2/3.
Because like the most down might be you get straight up murdered or something.
Yeah, that's very... Well, you don't get to review it in that point. No, so if there's no review, that's what that means.
Yeah, well, on that note, I feel like someone else should be able to rate it for you, you know.
How fucked up would Tinder be if you could rate people and like leave a review after the fact?
Well,
it'd be like Foursquare, but for human beings.
Well,
it's like
that is a thing on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Very selfish lover, only 2 stars. But he did buy me a nice burrito, so that gets in the 2.
Yeah, sure. Or like if they take you on a date to like Hungry Jack's, it's kind of like...
Unless you're really into Hungry Jack's.
Is anyone really into Hungry Jack's?
There's at least one monster out there.
There's at least one couple who have gotten married at Hungry Jack's.
Oh wow, that's horrifying.
There's at least one person who's done that. At least 2, because they're a couple.
Instead of stealing her heart, the defendant stole her car.
Is that what the prosecutor said?
That is what the prosecutor said, yes. The prosecutor is my new favourite person.
I love that. He took an opportunity and he used it.
The woman had been using the hookup app on January 10th last year when she matched with Vittorio William Guida, 39. They messaged for a while, and it was ultimately agreed he would come over to her place. He arrived at about 10:30 p.m. and introduced himself. Just call me V.
Oh, what a douchebag.
It's like the dude from V for Vendetta. I wonder if he was wearing a Guy Fawkes mask.
Just call me V.
We proceeded to do what you do when you meet up on Tinder, the woman later told police. That's a great way of putting it.
Well, what you do when you meet up on Tinder, right? That's like maybe play Scrabble and order a pizza.
In my experience, it's awkwardly discuss where you're going to go to get food and then not talk very much because it's just uncomfortable and then leave. Like, that's my experience for the most part.
Well, that's exactly what she was saying, was the experience that she had, yeah.
When they woke up the next morning, Guida asked for a lift to Tuggeranong. The woman agreed, but after she had reversed her car out of the garage, Guida said he thought he had left his wallet on the bedside table. Ugh. The woman went in to retrieve it for him. But the request appeared to have been a ruse because the woman could not find the wallet. She turned back around to go and ask Guida if he was sure that was where he had left it. By the time I got to the front door, the car was down the street, she told police.
Oh no!
That day, police were patrolling when they spotted the car out the front of a home in Flynn. Guido produced the car key and said the woman had allowed him to borrow it for a couple of days. When he was searched, police also found that he had her ATM card in his pocket, which he had said he had been keeping safe for her after finding it in the car.
Oh, sure. So he borrowed her car and found her ATM card, so decided to keep it safe in his pocket.
In his house and pocket. He has pleaded not guilty to charges of dishonestly taking a motor vehicle and minor theft.
I like that.
Dishonestly
taking a motor vehicle.
And minor theft, which is a very, very small crime, I feel like.
Okay, can you honestly steal a motor vehicle? Is there a crime for honestly stealing a motor vehicle?
I think if you, work for Her Majesty's Secret Service and you say, I'm requisitioning your car, and then you take it, that's honestly stealing a motor vehicle because you need it to chase down a evil James Bond villain. But outside of that,
sure.
I can't think of a situation.
Yeah, it's like a GTA situation. And, you need to drive really fast for, a minute so the cops stop chasing you.
If I go up... That'd be a fun way the world worked. If I go up to... Although if the world worked in the same way I played Grand Theft Auto...
The police stop chasing you after 2 minutes.
It would be a real issue if the world worked the same way that the average person plays Grand Theft Auto, because,
I would not want to be a pedestrian in that universe.
I wouldn't want to be outside.
I would, yeah. I also would not want to be inside in any building that the, player character could enter.
Can enter. So you've got to find a non-enterable building. And I'm assuming inside those is just a void.
And, no clip into the void, but at least you'll be safe.
No clip would be a useful superpower to have. I would like that one.
I'm not entirely sure I know what no clip is. It's just...
It's just you can move through walls and floors and roofs.
Okay, sure, yeah.
And travel instantly in any direction.
I did use it correctly then, so I'm glad that I didn't.
I'm so proud of you.
I'm glad I didn't make a fool of myself on this here gaming podcast.
On Friday, Magistrate Louise Taylor rejected Guida's version of events as incredible and found him guilty of both charges. The victim earlier told the court that while she did then, she no longer uses Tinder. Which is understandable.
His excuse reminds me of the "I'm just waiting for a mate" guy. Do you remember that video? The video with the guy who was parked up on the curb, and he was kind of on one of those median strips that's all grass. Yeah. And his car was all battered up, and he was kind of half on the side on the median strip. And then the police pulled over and was like, "Oh, what are you doing here? Are you all right?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm just waiting for a mate."
As blood drips down his head and meth cooks in the backseat.
"It looks like you've had a bit of a crash." "Oh no, I'm just waiting for a mate." And
the mate is his insurance company.
And then the police is like, "What's your friend's name?" And then he proceeds to give his own name to the police. And then show his driver's license with his name. And it's a very funny video.
I really worry that if I ever have to give a fake name, I'm going to instantly come up with a bullshit name like Billop or like Jimothy or something like that.
Yeah, probably.
I'm going to go with Billop. I feel like Billop is a good fake name.
It's sorry, what's your name? Janessa? Yeah, that's Jennifer and Janessa. Janessa.
My name is Sasquatch.
Yesterday, before you came over, my friend and I were looking for through all my paperwork, and I found this old, primary school writing books that I had, and there was a story that I'd written where the characters' names were Yannick and Gavin.
That's very good.
Yannick and Gavin.
Yannick.
And Gavin was a ghost.
You'd really think that out of the two, Yannick would be the more likely to be the ghost.
No. Yannick was, but I'm like, where did I get the name Yannick from as a 5-year-old child?
Yannick.
Why is this the name I come up with? Gavin, okay. Gavin's a name a kid would come up with.
And then the 3 little pigs went down to the store and met the store owner, Dimitri.
Dimitri. The pigs were named John, Bob, and Demetrius.
You met the three little goats, Tim, Sarah, and Spartacus.
I hope, like, if I ever have children in the future and it's some, like, weird alternate universe where I wish to have children, I'm going to give, like, 3 of my children really normal names and then one of them just some really...
One of them is getting named fucking Gengar. You're giving it, like, a Pokemon name.
No. Like a, kind of like an old school name, but that's, like, a name smashed together, right? It's not going to be...
I'm naming my children Sandra, John, Michael, and Bulbasaur. And there's nothing you can do to stop me.
Yeah, well, my kids are going to be called, like, Sally, Timothy, Sandra, and...
You stole my one.
Well, Sandra's also my child. So, Sally, Timothy, and Sandra are going to have a kid called Asmaroth. A brother called Asmaroth. And Sally and Asmaroth will be twins. And they're...
That's just cruel.
So these are my daughters, Sally and Asmaroth.
I'm going to have 3 kids. One will be Angie, one will be Tom, and one will be Jesus.
That's what I'm going to call my sweat bee in my eye.
Jesus.
Jesus, Asmaroth, and Sandra.
Do you have another story for me, Alison?
I do have another story here. Let's get into this one. Now, we did talk a lot about the glass cake and the needle and strawberries.
I remember that.
So things that should not be in food but are in food are kind of a big deal in Australia as like a news item.
Yeah.
Well, I found what I think is an even more perplexing mystery than any of those other ones that we've heard about here. So this is from the Adelaide Advertiser, and it says, calculator found inside hot cross buns sold at Pasadena Foodland.
How big was the hot cross bun?
Well, it's like pieces of a calculator.
Oh,
But
okay. Interesting.
How do pieces of a hot cross, a calculator, end up in a delicious Easter food item?
A baker was drunkenly doing their accounting whilst they were getting the breads ready for the morning.
It's really weird.
That is yeah, that's accurate.
I feel like the needle and strawberry thing, okay.
I can see how that happens.
Pieces of a calculator.
So it requires you to disassemble the calculator is
Right.
the immediate thing.
Or you drop a calculator in a blender and it like smashes to pieces and then those pieces go into hot cross buns, which are then sold in Adelaide.
Do you remember the YouTube channel Will It Blend?
Yes.
I just want to say that's a very good YouTube channel and I support it, and I hope that we haven't milkshake ducked the YouTube blending people and that they're still acceptable.
Do you know the blenders they used in hot YouTube channel Will It Blend are the same blenders that I used at my job at Boost Juice?
Ooh.
Yeah.
What was your
I thought a lot
review
about
of the
they
Boost
were
Juice blender?
very, very good blenders. But
Okay.
I don't know how to really explain this properly, but when you're standing next to something making a loud sound for a long time, it kind of drives you a little bit murderous. Mm-hmm. It gives you a little bit of that murderous rage. And so when you have
Alison,
an 8-hour shift to Boost Juice standing next to a really loud blender for like your entire shift, it does make you want to kill someone a little bit.
So, Alison, when you and I were at university together,
Sure.
I would often sit next to you in classes where discussions were happening. So I can definitely relate to that feeling.
No. Well, podcast is over for today. We'll just we'll leave it there. The sad thing is I don't even think I was the loudest person in those classes.
No, that's true. It's because you're not French. Anyway, please continue.
I'm going to read this story before Emily listens to this one day and decides to kill us. Because she definitely will get
definitely
revenge.
follow through on that. I'm confident she will never ever listen to our podcast, so I think
Well, that's
we're
good.
okay.
We're safe. She's in Japan at the moment, having a great time. So let's hope she stays there, having a great time. Pieces of a small calculator have been found in hot cross buns sold at Pasadena Foodland. The hot cross buns were recalled on Monday after a customer complained about bits of plastic they have found in their buns. South Australia Health said the recall was precautionary and there were no reports of injury. How the calculator ended up inside the batch of hot cross buns is being investigated, but there is no evidence it was a malicious act.
How could it be a non-malicious? How physically could it be?
It's like, you know, the needle thing. I can understand how that would be malicious, someone just inserting them into the strawberries. But what we're assuming here is that someone has blended the calculator at Boost Juice and taken each of the pieces and individually poked them into the bun.
Okay, here's the question. Because it's not a needle, like it's not a sharp object, it's just calculator innards. Even if it was intentional, does that count as malicious? Because I don't think the calculator insides are going to, like, hurt you really badly. Like,
calculators have batteries, Chris.
Just wait. They'll hurt your tummy, but they won't hurt your mouth, I don't think. So, like...
Is that okay?
And I feel like the needle, the worry was for the mouth, not the tummy. Like, surely you will realise, oh no, this is not something to swallow before it ends up in the tummy.
I recently had to go to the dentist and get a giant needle in my mouth, and it was possibly... I don't have a problem with needles. In fact, on Monday I'm going to go get like 6 of them. It's fine. But the concept of a needle inside your mouth, it's just a lot of not good things happening.
It's not where the needle should go.
No.
Not that there's anywhere the needle should go, but mouth is definitely up there on the list of the worst ones. The only one I can think of that is worse is, like, genital, and that's, like...
Yeah, look...
That's worst case scenario.
That's off the cards at this point in time. But basically what happened is she put this numbing gel on the inside of my mouth before she put the needle in, so I couldn't feel it.
Fun!
But, you know when someone puts something inside the inside of your mouth, your tongue just, like... you know, aimlessly wanders over to whatever's inside your mouth just to check it out. My tongue wandered over to the numbing gel and got a lot of numbing gel on the end of my tongue. So it had like a weird numb tongue tip for the rest of the night.
Okay. How effective was this numbing gel? How long did it last?
It was very effective numbing gel. And then on top of that, because the needle then was like a numbing anesthetic agent, it just was a profoundly weird experience.
At that point, you just didn't have a face. You were just a body with a head hanging off.
Yeah. At that point, all I could feel, like confidently feel, was the filling that was inserted into my tooth.
Ugh.
But I think about this, and I trust my dentist didn't do this. But, you know, you don't see the filling going in, and you don't really see the hole in your tooth. So you're just going on the word of your dentist that there is a hole in your tooth. But
so
then
what you're suggesting is that the dentist is just kind of poking the tooth and applying pressure to it and then being like, yup, I put a filling in.
What I'm implying is that the dentist then proceeded to stick a drill into the hole to clean up the hole so then they could put the filling in. If there was not a hole there in the first place and the hole was drilled in...
Well, then you've just become like a very small-scale cyborg, so I still think that that's worth the money.
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
On a related note...
I'm not trying to start up like an anti-dental conspiracy here, so let's just leave that plot thread here.
I went to the dentist on Friday, and the dentist was like, how long since you last saw a dentist? And I was like, 3 years. And he was like, oh, Jesus. And then he looked at my teeth, and he was like, they're all right.
They're not that bad.
Nothing wrong with them particularly. I feel like the dentist was pleasantly surprised because he thought it was going to be a horror show.
That's probably the best reaction. Anytime you go to the dentist, they ask how long it's been. Say, about 2 decades. And then they'll be like preparing for the worst. And then whatever bad is in there, they'll be like, this is okay.
He's just like, I'll just give him a clean. That's nice.
That's all right.
Just floss more, as he says to literally everyone that is alive.
Yeah, but Big Floss is making a lot of money from the dental...
Big Floss.
From the dental,
scam.
The dental
Just call
lobby
it what
group.
It is. The dental scam. It's like a dental dam, but with an S.
Yeah, well, there's not really much else to the calculator story, by the way, except saying that calculator button batteries are poisonous, which I feel like hopefully most people know.
All right, fine. Don't eat calculator batteries, Alison. God.
Yeah, and don't eat hot cross buns because apparently there are calculators inside them.
Yeah, fair. So this is an article from The Guardian.
Cool.
Written by Dream McClinton, which is the greatest name ever.
Good name.
Dream McClinton. Nicolas Cage files for annulment after just 4 days of marriage.
Fair enough.
We don't usually cover celebrity news here, but I thought this one was special because you and I think, have a
Nick
real...
Cage has a special place in our hearts.
Yeah, we have a Nick Cage connection.
It's not really a celebrity news, it's more like a friend news.
Friend news.
Telling us the news of one of our good friends.
The Hollywood actor, that's generous, Nicolas Cage, has officially filed an annulment from his wife of 4 days. Cage and makeup artist Erica Koike applied for a wedding license on the 23rd of March and were wed the very same day in Las Vegas, Nevada. By Wednesday, the actor had applied for an annulment. This is his shortest marriage, topping his 2002 marriage to Lisa Marie Presley, which lasted 108 days before they split.
108 days is a lot compared to 4.
It's a considerable...
If you're going for like a record-breaking, at least just like give yourself a chance to improve in the future.
It's going to be really hard for him to top this from a ratio perspective. It's going to have to be less than 1 day to be like... He'd need a 3-hour wedding.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure. Is that possible?
I don't know. I feel like it depends on how long the wedding is, because I think if you instantly then go and ask for an annulment, you can like get that shit done in like 3-4 hours.
Sure.
So, according to TMZ, esteemed news source, hours after their wedding,
of course,
the pair was spotted arguing at the Las Vegas Hotel Bellagio.
Of course they were in Las Vegas.
Of course they were.
Of course they were.
Witnesses and photos show Koike yelling at the 55-year-old actor. I can't imagine yelling at Nicolas Cage. I think he would just, like...
He would cry.
He would... Oh, he'd be so sad. Not much is known publicly about his now estranged wife, except that Koike was also previously married. The couple began dating in April 2018. So Nick Cage has had 4 wives now.
Okay, so he was married to this last wife for 1 day for each ex-wife and then 1 day for her.
Exactly. It's kind of romantic when you think about it.
Yeah, it's kind of very romantic.
Yeah. He has 2 sons, 28-year-old Weston Coppola Cage. And
can you say that name again, please?
Weston Coppola Cage.
That's the next name I'm giving to a sim.
And, oh, Jesus Christ. And Kal-El, whose mother is Kim. Kal-El is the name of Superman's dad.
That's a hit. That's a sick pop culture reference there.
Sick pop culture reference there, Nick. Yeah, there's not a lot more to this, outside of, for comparison's sake, this marriage was 18 times shorter than Kim Kardashian West's marriage to her second husband, Chris Humphries. So, and that was like an infamously short marriage.
Do all these, like, celebrities have?
Yeah, I feel
like there's a lot of... At some point, you just say, hey, I'm just going to be single.
Or you can just date someone and not be married. That's also allowed. Like,
I guess if you've got all the money in the universe, you don't really give a crap, though.
Maybe it's just an excuse to throw a fancy party.
Well, that's a good point. But I feel like in Nick's case, given his bankruptcy, when he declared bankruptcy situation...
Yeah.
Is he legally obliged to say yes to any woman who proposes marriage to him?
Yes, but only if he can find her request written on the back of the Constitution.
On the Declaration of Independence.
Exactly.
It's like, it's written in code on the Declaration of Independence. And then he has to say yes.
It's projected in hexadecimal code into all of the various billboards around Las Vegas, and he has to scour the city scanning them.
And his friend Riley Poole is there. His
much more attractive friend Riley Poole is there.
His much more attractive friend, who the plot of the movie leads everyone to believe is not attractive for some reason.
Which is madness.
If you're going to have Nicolas Cage as your leading man, you've got to be a little bit more careful for the gawky friend to be gawky looking.
God, I love the alternate universe that National Treasure exists within.
Where Nicolas Cage is just a dreamboat.
It's just a hot commodity.
A hot man.
And Justin, whatever his name is, who plays Riley Poole the hot man, is not a beautiful human being.
No, exactly. And for some reason, the young lady whose name I've forgotten,
Diane Kruger,
who is probably the most attractive of the cast, is like in love with Nicolas Cage when he kidnaps her.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think Nicolas Cage, he's obviously not hard to love because he's been married 4 times, but
yes.
I can't imagine that being kidnapped by him would help.
No, I don't think, well, I don't know. I've never been kidnapped by Nicolas Cage, so I couldn't say that. But
Maybe he just has a way about him putting Stockholm Syndrome into you.
Maybe that's his... That's a very dark territory.
Do you have another story? I just wanted to talk about Nicolas Cage, and I've got that on my system.
Well, yeah, I've got another couple of stories, but these two are both little ones.
Let's do a lightning round.
Lightning round, okay. Here we go. This is mostly in the headline, but let me just ask you a question first. Were you good at sport in school, Chris?
Absolutely not.
No, neither was I.
I was kayaking... captain of the kayaking team, but there was only one other competitor for that spot, so I don't know if that really counts.
I like that though, captain of the kayaking team. That should be in your Twitter bio.
I'll remove everything else and just put captain of the kayaking
captain
team.
of the kayaking team at Armadale Boys School in whatever year.
In 2010 or whatever it was.
2010. Were you still in school in 2010?
I was still in school in 2011, baby.
Oh, awful.
I'm sorry.
I graduated in 2009.
It's because you're basically 40 at this point, Alice.
Yeah, essentially. So this is from the Courier, the Bundaberg Courier, I believe.
The Bundy.
No, wait. It's not Bundaberg. Where is this site from? Well, I'm not going to find out because this computer's not connected to the internet. It's Ballarat Courier. We got it.
That is different.
It's another B name. It's Ballarat Courier, and it's by Rochelle Kirkman. And the article headline says, "Move for gaming to be a new high school sport."
Oh, no!
And let me just describe this picture to you. There's 2 young lads who look about 13 years old who look like they have YouTube channels and are Let's Play YouTubers. They look like the kind of kid who was mean to you in high school, Chris, is all I'm saying here.
Oh, well, that's not... I mean, that's most of them. So...
They look like they would have, like, called you a dweeb and, like, rubbed your nose in the ground.
I just don't think Teen Chris needed any more incentive to play video games. I don't think...
No.
But
now, like, video gaming is for jocks.
That's true.
So, like, if
video
you'd be
games
like...
is a viable career. So, like...
Yeah, exactly. So, but I guess, like, on the flip side, right, if we're growing up as the outcasts in this situation, these, like, video game jocks would be like, "Oh, you rugby dweeb."
You fucking rugby nerd.
And, like, what they'd do is they'd get your rugby helmet hat thing and, like, throw it to each other over you as you, like, jumped up and down trying to grab it from them.
And you'll be like, I'll beat you up. And they'll be like, I'll fucking no-scope teabag you.
I've got better skins than you on Fortnite.
I've got so much of the microtransaction currency you can't believe.
I've got so many Fortnite coins.
My dad bought me so many Fort bucks.
And basically, Fortnite is in fact the reason I brought up this story. So it says Ballarat Tech High School hosted the region's first school esports tournament on Friday, an event that was the first step in a bid to make esports a regular inter-school sports competition in Ballarat.
I'll allow it, but only if they have to do it whilst on a treadmill.
Yeah. 22 high school students participated in the tournament, playing video game Fortnite, battling to win a place in the grand final. They were selected from a list of more than 100 students who registered their interest in being involved in the event.
That's how you know all of the nerds. That's how you... No, but again, they're the cool kids, aren't they?
They're the Fortnite kids. You look at, like, the Fortnite kids on YouTube. They do not look like dweebs, Chris.
Oh,
they
shit.
look
Alison, I think I've just realised that my little cousins might be cool. Oh, my God.
They probably are.
Actually, no, they're definitely not.
Do they have a lot of Fort bucks, or do they have, like, a default skin?
I don't know what that is, so...
See, well, back in the day, on Habbo Hotel, on esteemed website Habbo Hotel, you could pay for microtransaction currency to dress your habbo in cool clothes. And then you were in like what was called the Habbo Club, and you were a HC member. And then there were like people who weren't Habbo Club, and they got called nons.
Nons.
And people could see you were a non because you were wearing the non-Habbo Club clothes. And so sometimes...
It doesn't even need a suffix. It's just you are non. Your existence is futile.
And sometimes you'd try and go into rooms, and then people would kick you out and say, "No nons allowed."
No nons allowed. Oh my god!
It was a class discrimination in the land, and I feel like I don't know what the Fortnite equivalent of a non is, but I feel like a lot of these kids are going around calling their colleagues, their classmates, nons.
Yeah, it's just like, have you heard that Kevin's a dirty little non? He doesn't even have enough $4 to buy...
These two boys in the photo, Luke and Kobe, are absolutely going around and calling their classmates nons.
Kevin's a non, Sarah's a non... Raphael is a non.
Yeah.
It's really hard to come up with names on the spot, is what I've
Asmaroth
discovered
is a
this
non.
episode. Asmaroth
Well, maybe
is a
actually, Sally will be a HC, and Asmaroth will be a non. And that's...
What is the Fortnite version of HC, though? Or are we just going with the original lingo?
What is the Fortnite, I don't know. It's the Battle Pass. That's it.
I know
the
that
Fortnite, you're a Battle Pass or a non.
It had the DJ What's-His-Face in it, so maybe we can call them DJs and nons. I know Thanos was in it at one point, so we can call them Thanoses and nons.
Do you have to do a microtransaction in order to floss?
Probably.
So we could call it like flossers and nons.
Flossers and nons. That works for me, actually.
Yeah, flossers and nons works for me.
That's really convenient for me because it immediately makes it a cool social group that I don't want to be part of, which is very exciting.
I don't want to be a flosser. I want to be a non. And there'll be like, in hit internet game Habbo Hotel, there were people who reclaimed non, and there were non-only rooms. And usually like the non-only rooms were people who were like really... feeling good about themselves for not spending money on that shitty-ass website that is now, like, dead, I think? I don't know.
In the one not very hit video game that I play, Destiny, I recently got a dab emote, which...
Chris, you're cool.
I'm pretty
cool. You're with the kids now.
I'm cool with the kids. But I feel like dabbing is last year's thing, and now flossing is this year's thing.
Do people still dab?
I don't think so. But I do now, so...
You do. Well, you can dab now. You are physically capable of dabbing on this video game.
That's really my whole aesthetic, I think, is doing whatever was cool like 18 months ago.
Yeah.
And then just doing it unironically.
Now, as someone whose video gaming life includes exclusively The Sims and like Zoo Tycoon and Roller Coaster Tycoon and Tetris and other such games... I know that I'll be done with The Sims when they introduce a floss dance or a dab dance for your sim to do.
That's fair.
And then I know that I'm done forever with that franchise. You know, that will be the nail in the coffin for me.
Well, there is a 100% chance that when The Sims 5 is released, that will be a feature.
Oh, the next expansion pack. The next expansion pack will be, like, sponsored by Fortnite.
It'll just be The Sims Dance. The Sims 4 Dance.
The Sims Fortnite dances. And then that's something that will happen. It's like they made, in Sims 3, they made a Katy Perry expansion pack.
The Sims 4 Footloose, starring Kevin Bacon. And you get to watch Kevin Bacon dab. And you get
Now, I'm really disappointed that this is what I really want in The Sims 5. A mechanism to make your sim short so I can make a Danny DeVito sim.
Ah, yes.
And just have him rake in the ladies.
But also,
because every time I try and make a Danny DeVito, he's human size.
Do you think
either that or I had to make a fat child.
Do you think Danny DeVito is physically capable of dabbing?
I don't know.
I don't think he would be.
I want to know now.
I want to see him try.
He would try, though.
Yeah.
He would give it a red-hot go.
15, whatever it is. Let me see. Do you want to give us that other one small story?
The other small story,
and
yeah. Now, this story, it's not really much of a story either. I got both of these off the Fairfax Regional Twitter feed, which is where I get a lot of these stories from, to be honest. And this one's from the Bendigo Advertiser, and it's by Tara Cosoletto. And here we go. Vaping business Juice Cartel opens its first store in Bendigo.
That's, I like the phrase Juice Cartel.
Juice Cartel is the name of the business,
That's
the vaping business.
Very fun. Because it makes it sound like
give you that hot juice.
It makes it sound like they've had to smuggle the juice across the border, which...
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the idea of advertising that on your... But I think we should expand this concept. I think I want to go to, like, a fried chicken cartel, where the chicken has been, like, brought from the New Zealand and it's a legal chicken.
It's actually, like, kiwi bird or...
It's too spicy for Australia.
Now, if you're making a vape shop, what would your business card look like for your vape shop?
It would not be a physical object. It would be a smoke object.
Would it have, like...
You'd blow the business card.
What kind of colour scheme would you go for? Would you go for, like, an eggshell white, or would you go for something a little bit more?
I'd have two, depending on my mood. So they would be eggshell white or, like, kaleidoscope.
So this vape shop's business card is, like, a kind of, like... It's black base. It's glossy. It's not matte, by the way. So it's a glossy black business card with, like, a pink and, like, purple kind of psychedelic smoke pattern with, like, the most thick text you could possibly imagine that says Juice Cartel and then the address. It looks very, like...
I don't know what I'd imagine
that is. It's a vaping aesthetic.
That sounds like the aesthetic of, like, a lingerie store.
Well, I don't know. Do they sell lingerie in a vape shop?
That would be a fun crossover. It would be two places for me to not go, because they would both make me profoundly uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, it's like last time I was in Jakarta, where I'm heading back to, as we now know is not an April Fool's joke. There were a lot of vape shops. It was kind of like a big thing there, and I walked past one called World of Vapecraft. It was, had a World of Warcraft inspired logo.
That's so weak. Oh my god. Why not just World of Vape? That's obviously better.
World of Vapecraft, I think, had a better aesthetic going than this new vaping store.
How about Fort Vape? How about Players Unknown Vape Grounds?
Vape G.
Vape TA 5. Red Dead Vape 2. What's another video game? Call of Vapey. Assassin's Vape.
Oh dear.
Batman Vape Asylum. That's the winner, I think, actually, is Batman Vape Asylum.
Vapey Kong.
Vapey Kong.
They should actually just make a new Kong in the Kong family called Vapey Kong.
Super Vapey Okart.
Super Vape Brothers.
Super Vape Brothers. I want a shop called Super Vape Brothers. That's fun. It's a family business.
Yeah, of course. And the staff, they are actually brothers, but they also dress kind of like Mario and Luigi, but it's not like a full cosplay. It's more like an homage.
The Legend of Vape Breath of the Vape. It's got double in there. Vape Prime.
Now, I have to tell our
Super
listeners
Smash
something,
Vape.
something disgusting that
Super
happened
Vape
last
Brothers.
night.
Yes.
We were playing Scrabble, and Chris played the word vape.
The word ape was already there, and it wasn't even a very good points word, but I just
You
had
didn't
to.
get many points for that.
But it was worth it. Alison
I
played
played
the
a
word
naughty word.
wank, so
But
I
I
think
got
I'm...
like 26 points for playing wank.
Yeah, you
so
got
I feel like
26
it was
points
more
for
valuable.
wanking. I'm so proud of you.
I didn't like sell out my integrity for like 4 points.
Well, I didn't think it was my integrity. I feel like I was displaying my integrity by putting down my joke
You
word.
looked very proud to put that V
I
on
was
the ape.
very, very proud.
You placed that V down on the ape, and like you knew what you were doing, and you waited for your turn to come around so you could do that.
Exactly.
And this story about the new vape business popped up, and I was just reminded of that, and I knew that you would appreciate it, even though there's not really much to it other than a vape shop is opening in Bendigo. So it's going to be the new cool hotspot for vapors, I suppose.
Captain Vape, the Incredible Vape, Iron Vape, Avengers Vape Wars.
Fucking hell.
I'd watch Avengers Vape Wars. It's just Robert Downey Jr. vaping for 2 hours.
I feel like that might be better than most Marvel movies, in my opinion. Because you could do, like, some cool vape tricks and then, like, fidget spinner tricks at the same time. So he does, like, vape and fidget spinner tricks.
I feel like Robert Downey Jr. can do some cool vape tricks. Like, that guy seems like he knows his way around a vape
I feel like
pen.
he could do some fidget spinner tricks, too.
I feel like Scarlett Johansson can do some fucking cool fidget spinner tricks.
She can, like, do the thing where you spin the fidget spinner... fidget spinner. Where you spin the fidget spinner and put it on your nose and, like, balance it.
I think that when Mark Ruffalo is in his Hulk CGI outfit, he is using fidget spinners the entire time. That's how he, like, stays in character.
But I feel like fidget spinners are very uncool now, though.
Can you imagine that they call cut and Chris Evans as Captain America is just like, bring me my vape! And then, no, wait, inside the shield he has a vape pen just, like, stuck in there that he pulls out. Thor's hammer is a vape pen.
Because they're all vapors on the set of Marvel.
I can't think of any other Marvel characters.
Thanos' glove is a vape pen.
Thanos' glove is a vape pen.
See, I knew a name of a character, and I've never seen that movie.
It's pretty good.
I know a lot of people talk about Thanos' snapping.
He does. He snaps real good.
And then he vapes. He rips off a hot vape.
He kind of turns everyone in the universe into vape smoke.
Well, that's probably why he did that. That's why he chose to make that decision.
The vape snap. See, I think now I want to watch in Avengers Vape Game is the fourth Avengers film.
I really don't want to watch anything related to vaping, if I'm being entirely honest.
Oh my god, they're going to time travel back and stop Thanos from vaping. They're not concerned about the people being alive. They just want to stop the vape.
Just time travel back. Yeah, because they know it's inherently cringy to be a vapor. So they're going to time travel back and stop him from vaping.
You know that at some point there's going to be one of those after credits scenes and it's just going to be like Ant-Man vaping out of nowhere. It'll just be Paul Rudd puffing on that sweet Darth Vader dick.
And all of those people who stick around to the end of credits scene religiously will have to pretend that they enjoyed that scene of Ant-Man vaping.
Of just Paul Rudd. It's not even Ant-Man, it's just Paul Rudd dressed as Paul Rudd.
Out of costume. Paul Rudd dressed as his character from the hit movie This Is 40, ripping off a hot vape.
Just a really good movie that everybody saw.
Have you seen that movie?
Absolutely not.
I've seen it. It has no plot, literally.
Yeah, it looked pretty bad.
It's literally just him and his wife arguing, and then they have daughters, and that's the movie.
I never watched Knocked Up and thought I'd really like a sequel to this movie where nothing happens about the tertiary characters. That's just not what I want in my life.
Were they in Knocked Up?
Yeah, they were in the movie Knocked Up.
Were they really?
I'm pretty sure.
This is a spin-off movie where literally nothing happens.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I did catch it on television, and, you know, I kind of turned it on halfway through. I'm like, why does the plot seem like it's just starting? But then I kept watching for about... I watched for about 40 minutes.
Well, it's because you haven't watched Knocked Up, so that's where you get the first half of the plot. That's about two entirely different characters.
I watched for about 40 minutes, and I'm like, the entire time, I'm like, when does the plot start? Is the plot starting now? Will this be the plot?
No.
There is no plot.
There's no plot. It's
and
just
that's what
about
happens
existential dread.
And that's Paul Rudd sitting there dressed as his character from This Is 40 at the end of vaping. And he's on the set of hit movie This Is 40 during this scene. And every Marvel fan is going to have to pretend they enjoyed that.
Well, Marvel fans, it's been a great time having you listening to the show. Thank you for listening, Paul Rudd, as well. We love you and all of your great work. I'm sorry for all the mean things Alison said about your movie that I'm sure is fine.
If Paul Rudd listens to this and it criticises us, that might be good for our exposure.
That's true, actually. Paul Rudd, please take us to fucking town.
Paul Rudd, please call us out openly on Twitter, because I really do like you in a lot of your other hit movies.
And can you also send me your skincare tips, because you have a superpower? Yeah,
well, indeed.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Follow us on Twitter or Instagram at RedMenaceCast. I've got one final headline.
I'm excited.
This I found in the Catherine Times.
Okay.
And the person responsible for this is Carolyn Schell.
Oh. Okay.
Headline is, Tasmanian owl release a hoot for rescuers.
Oh, come on. God, that's very on the nose. It's very given.
It's very on the beak.
Oh, Chris, stop.
All right. Thanks for listening, folks. Goodbye.
Vape on.